Shalom Akim, Yahweh Bashim Yavashai, Bashim Kokadash, Barakatam, double honors and salutations to the elders and apostles of Great Stone who rule well, to the Akim Aqua, try to focus to the earth, holding on in sincerity and in truth, and diligence of mind to the gospel of the Lord Amashak Yavashai. In these days and times, since Brahman Nasha, DC Camp, short lesson for the hopeful elect. Your health, your health, your health, your health should be a priority. All right, as long as you're in this ministry, of Lord Hamashak Yahushua, you have to put some emphasis on your well-being. Right? Your health is a gift from the Lord, so you have to maintain it. However, you get an opportunity to do so. All right, you can't just disregard that obligation. All right, you have a responsibility to maintain your focus. To maintain your grounding. Your foundation. All right, because it's a righteous thing to follow the dietary laws the Lord has given. And it's a challenge, man. You can have in fact, it's better to have an understanding of the dietary laws the Most High has given unto us. When you read the book of Leviticus, all right, tells you what you're supposed to eat and what you cannot eat. All right, Leviticus chapter 13. All right, let's see if we can pull it up. One moment. All right, Leviticus. Okay, this one for leprosy, Salakia. Yeah, so it's gonna be from. It's gonna be in 11. Yeah, Salakia 11. Yeah, so your dietary laws. This Leviticus chapter 11 tells you clearly. The principles you're supposed to abide by when it comes to your nutrition. And you just have to learn to stick by it, man. It's a source of life. Okay, it's a source of balance. All right, that's how you're able to protect your organs. From functioning improperly. Okay. So you have on the screen this news report about the new guidelines as per nutrition, which the Department of Health has put forward, including the Department of Agriculture. And you know that in Babylon, you have to struggle with healthy living. The whole system is corrupt, is polluted. The so-called food industry has been contaminated by the devious elites, and a lot of people are just struggling. Are just struggling with the urges. With the lusts. With improper dieting. Okay, so it's a painful experience. When you have to deal with children having health complications due to their nutrition, due to the contaminated environment they live in. All these infectious diseases. It becomes a burden upon the men and the women. That trust in the Lord of Mashak Yahushai, because it keeps you awake at night. When you have a elderly and the children, dealing with all types of health issues. So you have to be prepared. For that difficulty at any point in time. It presents itself. So the book of Sirach, chapter 34, And 21 mentions the bread of the needy is their life. He that defrauded him thereof is a man of blood. So when you start, when the the food supply, when the food supply chain is being what you call sabotaged with all types of additives that are not supposed to be there, and all these GMO additions. It's a sad experience, man. It's basically a slow death. Folks that are having all types of tumors in their system, cysts. You know, poor poor state of mind because of the bad choices that are put out there in all the stores that they have to buy. You know, you can read the ingredients on the label as many times as possible, but that doesn't guarantee, your safety to a level that you feel confident. That's why it's always good to pray. The Lord Amashak Yahushua, gives you the grace to handle, to handle the pain, the oppression, the constant berating, man, of what's important to you. Okay, that's the situation you have to do. It's the things that you like to do. They get undermined. And it just shows you that we don't really have any power over our food supply, our air supply, our water supply. We're just living in a contaminated ecosystem that Esau never stops, you know, pumping his hazardous materials into. So a lot of people are just still walking, walking cesspool of infections. All right. So another precept will be from the book of Sirach, chapter 29. Okay. Sirach, chapter 29 and 21. It says, the chief thing for life is water and bread and clothing and an house to cover shame. So when all those factors, all those resources contaminated, they've been usurped by the evil one, what can you do? You know, the house is built with hazardous materials that that you do not know of. The environment the house is built in contains hazardous materials. The water you're drinking is contaminated. It's been stripped of the proper minerals that are in there, and then you have to deal with the contamination of the soil, the contaminants in the plant, and all that stuff. If you keep on trying to avoid everything, you might run yourself into a mental facility, so total paranoia. You can't be a paranoid in this kind of system, because, the Messiah put us in this difficult position because of our iniquities. So you just have to depend upon Him to deliver us out of it. All right. So another precept will be from the book of Ezekiel. All right, Ezekiel chapter 4 and 13. And the Lord said, even thus shall the children of Israel eat their bread. Eat that defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. So when the Lord, told the prophet Ezekiel to mix, ooh boy, the the flour from the wheat and the barley and all that stuff with human dung. Oh boy, it's a sad situation. That's what the Apostle Tahar called shit cookies and all that stuff, man. And you saw exactly what happened in Haiti during the earthquake. You saw the mud cookies people were eating. Mud cookies. So that's just a sign to prove who the Israelites are, man. You just gotta pray to the Lord Amashak Yahushai Bashim Kakadash give us the spiritual fortitude to deal with the famine. The famine that's gonna be coming upon the face of the earth when all hell breaks loose. Alright? So another precept I'll bring up will be from the book of Matthew. Matthew chapter. Actually, it's like, yeah, the book of Mark. Mark chapter 16 and 18. It says, "They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover." So that's what we've been praying for, man. So you can't be acting overly righteous. You have to deal with the environment the Lord has put you in. All right, it tells you clearly you have to, be prepared for a difficult situation that you're going to find yourself in, and you just need to maintain your faith, and that's what the elect has been preparing themselves for. All right, that's all we have. All we have is the assurance of the Lord Amashak Yahushai to overcome the difficulties of captivities in Babylon. All right.
A U of I professors weighing in on these new federal dietary guidelines.
Recommendations released earlier this week include eating more protein, whole-fat food, along with fewer carbs. WCIA 3's Peter Hansen live at our newsroom now. And Peter, the professor has experience creating these types of suggestions.
Jennifer, I talked to Sharon Donovan, who studies nutrition at the university. She was one of the 20 scientists who created the previous dietary guidelines back in 2020. Donovan tells me she has mixed feelings about the new changes, some of them staying consistent with past recommendations, but others shocking her, like a big change to a diagram shown across the nation in schools.
These new guidelines will revolutionize our nation's food culture and make America healthy again.
Gone is the familiar My Plate diagram. Instead, Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s new dietary guidelines flip the food pyramid to establish a new hierarchy.
Some people are calling it the keto cone.
Dr. Sharon Donovan helped assemble the recommendations that were used from 2020 to 2025.
We take the scientific literature and scientific evidence, examine it, and then winnow it down to a recommendation.
She says some parts of the new report.
Yeah, so you can see the creation of the Lord. The Lord, the book of Genesis tells you about, the goodies of the earth, the fruits, nuts, and berries, and all that good stuff. So it's a blessing to know that the Lord made the world for our sake, to sustain life. And you have to learn to, appreciate the commandments. Appreciate the commandments of the Lord. To such an extent that you understand the reason why it was put there in the first place. Okay, so you just have to value the law, statutes, and commandments, and you stick with it. So you can have all these items, look nice on the outside, but they are grown in a contaminated soil. Okay, the soil which they are grown up is contaminated. Even even if you grow them in a controlled environment, you still have to understand you cannot control every factor. You cannot control every variable. of your existence in Babylon. The air that you breathe is contaminated. You have folks with asthma, with asthma. You have folks with watery eyes. You have folks with all types of allergies and all that stuff, which is due to what's present in the environment. So you just have to learn that you cannot avoid all these pitfalls in society, man. What you can do is just stick with what you can do best. So you just have to take things with a grain of salt. You just have to pray. And don't let your nutrition be overly filled with carbs, 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 and you can't be eating 3 square meals a day, man. It's not healthy, to eat that way, especially when you're not giving yourself, you're not giving your body enough time to process what you're putting into the system, into your body. You can't just keep on putting food into your mouth, you know, without the proper intervals. So if you can eat once or twice a day, that's fine. But you just have to learn that your body has a cycle to complete. So you can't just keep on adding, 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 and adding, and adding, and adding, and adding. And then you start having all this extra weight on you, because that's how type 2 diabetes comes along. That's how your insulin level doesn't really come down to a normal stage. It stays elevated. When you're eating all this carbs and all this sugary stuff, whether it's fruits and carbs and all that stuff, you know that your insulin has to go into effect. And then, after a while, it has to come back down. But if you keep on adding more carbs and sugary stuff, you know, to your to your munchies, you know what that means, man? That means the insulin will not have enough time to come down. Your body's just gonna be stuck, and then all of a sudden, you start having all these symptoms of type 2 diabetes. So it's one thing you learn by experimentation. You have to learn to protect protect yourself from unnecessary desires. You can always have fruits, just say tomatoes and some berries and some nuts, some greens in between. Because I know you need the carbs for your strength. You need the protein also and all that stuff. This collagen and everything else to build the muscles. Strong bones and teeth, your hair, your eyesight. Just use the nutrients the way you're supposed to use them. Use the world, but don't abuse it. So you just have to continue to time yourself, man. You drink water when you think it's necessary. You don't want to overload your system with fluids, and then you gotta keep on going to the bathroom when you have important things to do. All right, so you just have to be careful about that part. All right. So, final precept will be from the book of Sirach, chapter 30. And 15. Actually, you know what? Sirach chapter 30, verse 15. It says, health and good estate of body are above all gold, and a strong body above infinite wealth. So, you need that part, man. You need to prioritize your health. Okay, you need to know the value of making sound decisions. And then verse 16 says, there is no riches above a sound body, and no joy above the joy of the heart. So keep that in mind. Don't overindulge, man. Don't overindulge, and just keep on doing the best you can. Don't be ignorant concerning your nutrition. Learn as much as you can, and put some good practices, into your habits. All right, Shalom.